Welcome to Up Level, Real Health, Real Talk with Dr. Jenna Blasi. I'm Dr. Jenna. I spent years crafting ways to help women thrive, and I want to help you do the same. On this podcast, we dive deep into health at every level, focusing on the mind, the body, and the spirit. This is where real conversations meet transformational wellness. We'll be talking about all the things that truly matter, from nutrition and fitness to lifestyle, mindset, and personal development. Plus, the real deal on managing stress and navigating menopause. So if you're ready to elevate your health journey with authentic, transformative insights, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Up Level. Today we're going to talk about why health feels so confusing right now. If you've ever felt like you're trying to do everything right with your health and somehow you're still stuck or you're more confused than ever, you're not alone. Eat more protein, but don't eat too much. Lift weights, but don't overtrain. Track your food, but don't become obsessive. Take hormones, don't take hormones. Don't overcomplicate things. Keep them simple. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. So today I want to talk about why health feels so confusing right now, especially for smart, motivated women. So first of all, there is more information than ever. We're living in a time where information is constant, advice is everywhere, and basically everyone has a platform. And not all of it is wrong. That's part of the problem. You can find a study, an expert, or an influencer to support almost any approach, right? So what this creates is analysis paralysis, where we're overwhelmed. We don't even know where to start. We don't know what to do. And then when we do move forward with something, we start second guessing. And it also leads to constant switching. So we're either paralyzed, not moving, or we're second guessing every decision we make or don't make, and then constantly switching because something is not working or it works for a little bit and then it stops working. So why does this happen? What is some of the root cause of this problem, if you will? So I would say that context is missing. Most advice is not flat out wrong. Sometimes it is, or it seems that way, but it's just incomplete. Health is nuanced. It's very nuanced, and context matters. And this is what makes these platforms very challenging. So if you look at like some of the information that feels contrasting or conflicting, fasting can help some people, can maybe harm or backfire on others. Cardio is beneficial, but not when overused. Calorie deficits work until they don't. So the issue is that advice is shared without context. There's so many missing variables: your age, your hormones, your individual stress, your sleep, your metabolic health, your history with dieting, your family history, your personal medical history, and on, your unique challenges. What phase and season of life are you in? So health advice without context is what creates confusion. And this is really why health should not be a solo journey. Be on it with the right people who are listening to you, who are navigating the different challenges that come up, who are looking at you as an individual. And when we look at just listening to podcasts or looking on social media for our health information, that context isn't there. When people say to me, well, what should I do for this? I don't have the context. I don't have the context of who they are, what their age is, what their personal history is, all those variables I just listed. And so I've told you all in the past that sometimes after I record these, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't say this, or I didn't say this quite right. The reason I do that is, and I said it's a little bit of perfectionism, but it's really my understanding of how nuanced and how contextual health and health choices are. And so I try to give the best information I can based on the greatest sum of the research at the time that I record the podcast, as well as all of the hundreds and thousands of people that I've worked with over many, many years. But within that, there's still nuance and there's still context. And that's where even in a 20 to 30 minute podcast, I can't address all of that. I can't address all those nuances. I can't address all that context. So there's inherently always something we can pick apart with information that anybody's delivering to some extent, right? And I hope we're not out there picking apart everything, but this is part of the cancel culture, right? You might follow someone and trust them, and then they say one thing that you don't agree with, or one thing that you feel that evidence shows otherwise, and then that's it. You don't trust them anymore. Context is gone. So we're going to dive into that a little bit later on and talk about how to address that. But one of the things happening, okay, so we've got the more information than ever. And then we've got that this information doesn't have your details. It doesn't have the nuances. It doesn't have the context. And then we also have the rise of extremes. Social media rewards bold claims and black and white thinking, and this is the best way messaging. And frankly, polarizing material is what quote unquote sells, right? Polarizing material and content is what gets you to stop. It's what catches your eye. And so this amplifies these messages of all carbs are bad and fasting is the answer, or, oh my gosh, don't fast. Hormones are everything. Calories don't matter. Calories are everything. And the reality is that most things will work on a spectrum, but we have to have context and we have to have nuance. And this leads, most of you out there are going to overthink this because smart women overthink this. And what I see is that we're going to then try a lot of the high achieving women that we work with. They start researching more. They're trying to optimize everything and they're second guessing decisions and they feel like they should figure it out. But the truth is that more information doesn't equal better outcomes. And it rarely leads to transformation. So there's some information there. There might be some missing links. And we're going to talk about not a missing link, but maybe a missing skill. But there might be some missing links, some missing information, if you will. But more often, it's the implementation. It's how do you take the information and apply it and implement it for you in your life? Because the truth is that, and here I'm saying like the truth, what is the truth? But at a certain point, more input actually makes it harder to take action. That is the bottom line. At a certain point, we get that information analysis paralysis. There's so much input, it makes it harder to take action, like that expression, too many cooks in the kitchen. So this is where, I'm a huge fan of working with mentors. I work with mentors and it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. It doesn't mean you're not disciplined. The smartest people have mentors. If you want to up-level any aspect of your life, learn a musical instrument, get more fit, take your nutrition to the next level, take your mindset to the next level. We need those expert guides. We need those mentors because information, you can gather all the information in the world. It will not lead to transformation without implementation and integration for you with all of those variables I talked about earlier. So the true missing skill, if you will, or critical skill is discernment. It's discernment. It's not knowing more. It's not following perfectly. It's knowing what applies to you. It's knowing what to ignore. And it's knowing when to stay consistent. And so one of the aspects I want to cover this whole month is learning how to think, not what to think. I give you as much information as I can that's research-based, that's based on research, like the evidence of the scientific research, as well as the people that I work with and what I've seen in my practice and putting all of that together. And so I don't want you to be in a place where you're being told what to think, because this is where it does get confusing. But when we learn how to think, this is what we want with our kids, right? Learn how to critically think, not just be fed information and regurgitate it, but actually know how to think critically. And later on in the month, I'm actually going to bring on an expert that's going to help us sift through that. And how do we figure out, who the people that we want to follow, who the people that we might want to trust. And so we will look at that as well later in the month. So learning how to think is a skill that you will always have with you. So when we break it down into what actually helps, I want to bring it back to simplicity. Instead of asking yourself, what's the best approach? Ask, what is sustainable for me right now? What supports my energy, my recovery, my strength? And what can I do consistently? And re-anchor these to those fundamentals that we've discussed: your strength, your nourishment, your sleep, your stability. And I want to come back briefly to this idea of discernment. One of the things that is really important to me and the people that I work with and the way that we do journeys with people is empowerment, right? If you just are given something, what is it? I don't love this expression, but give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Give a person a fish, or teach them how to fish, and they'll eat forever. But that idea of empowerment, education is huge, because that's when we can really integrate and implement. Discernment is something for sure that you cultivate to some extent on your own. But when you also have the right guides or the right mentors, they're helping you see those blind spots. They're helping you learn how to discern for yourself what does apply to you. And ultimately, you are your own best, your body best. And so whoever you work with is hopefully respecting you as a partner in that journey, and that you ultimately know best. I can say this and I can say this and I can say this, but if intuitively that's not where you're being guided, follow your intuition. I have a podcast on intuition. So that's really important. And so discernment is a skill that we learn, and there's an aspect of this ultimately that just comes back to us. But I feel like I wanted to clarify, because it could sound contradictory, because I think right before I started talking about discernment, I was saying working with mentors is great. The right mentors help you see those blind spots, help you see where you're maybe second guessing yourself, where you're overthinking it, where you're not trusting yourself. And the right guides and mentors are always going to encourage you stepping into your power and trusting yourself. But I'm very intuitive. I do trust myself. That doesn't mean that my mentors can't still help me. They absolutely can, but we don't give away our power. And that's, I think, one of the issues with our current medical industry is that there's been a lot of power, back in the day. And I think this is breaking down now, because we're so sick and we're so unhealthy, and healthcare costs so much and we're not getting the results. But back in the day, it was like doctors on a pedestal, and you just do whatever the doctor said. And there are some people that still have that mentality, but a lot of doctors out there are not listening. They're not even taking the context. If you're in that insurance model, they have 7 to 10 minutes max to spend with you. There's a lot of context missing in recapping your history in 7 to 10 minutes. And I know some of my experience has been I fill out these forms, and then they don't even read them, because they're asking me the same questions that I spent, an hour or however long. I'm repeating, what I already put on the form. And this is not about bashing the conventional system, but it has some serious limitations. And we know that within that system, there's time and place for that, for the pills and the procedures, but it's not getting us well. And so now, and I think that's part of the extreme, is the current system, we're not getting better as a culture. We're getting sicker. We're getting heavier. We're getting more mental health issues, et cetera. And so then on the extreme, we're looking to these alternatives, which is wonderful, but there's now so much information out there, and all of these people trying to capitalize on that. I mean, the nutraceutical market is $1 billion industry, right? As is the pharmaceutical. So they both have, people on both sides are trying to capitalize on that. And when someone's saying, take this supplement and just do this thing and everything will get better, they don't have context or nuance either. And some supplements work. So again, let's take a supplement, for example. I can present the research and say the research is really solid on this supplement, and if you take it in this amount, you can expect to have these results and these effects, and that's wonderful. And then I can say, and clinically, I've seen this do amazing things for people, but maybe for you, that's not the right one. Or maybe for you, you're an outlier. And so we can't just speak to the outliers, but in the generalization, there's a lot being missed as well. So that's where the right guidance comes in. And that's also where your own personal discernment and honing the skill of discernment starts to be one of your greatest allies, I would say. So in closing, because I'm going to keep today fairly brief, but the arc of this month is sifting through this and learning how to think critically. And so I want to remind you, you are not confused because you're doing something wrong. You are not stuck because you're not smart or because you lack willpower. You haven't failed the diets. The diets have failed you. All right. You are stuck or confused because you are being exposed to more information than ever without context to filter it. And it's to learn how to filter. My goal in empowering you is to learn how to filter what actually matters and stay consistent with that. A lot of this confusion is leading people not to do less. It actually leads them to do more. So I feel like that thought didn't come out quite right from my head. You would think that the confusion could lead people to do less, and it can. That analysis paralysis that I talked about earlier, where you're just like, forget it. And I do see this, forget it. I don't know what to do. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. And this is where we're like, and then we start blaming ourselves. I hear so many people, they're like, I'm lazy. Well, I try this and then I just stop. You stop because you don't get results, or it's too extreme to sustain. You're like, yeah, I get results if I eat nothing all day long, And so a lot of this confusion, yes, it can lead to not doing anything because you're just paralyzed with all the information. But it also, on the flip side, often leads people to do more testing, more supplements, more personalization. I had people come to me and they are on baskets or like on lists of supplements. I was thinking back when I used to actually see people in person in my office, and people would come in with like baskets or bags of supplements. I worked with a woman who's on disability who was spending $500 a month on supplements. So here's the thing with investing in our health. Just quick side note. You are going to spend the money. You are going to spend the time. I know some of us feel like, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. But the truth is we spend the time and the money one way or another. Either if you add up all the little things you're trying, it adds up over time to quite a bit of effort, of time, and of money. And also all of the cost of like time lost not feeling well. Right? Money spent on not feeling well. So what I'm seeing a lot of is more testing, more supplements, more personalization. I always try to streamline that. I tell people I have kind of a 5 supplement rule. I believe if you're on more than 5 things long term, okay, you might need a little bit more while things are being reset. But if you're on more than 5 supplements long term, maybe something deeper hasn't been addressed. So next week, we're going to unpack this idea of more. And talk about when personalization actually helps and when it can start to work against you. Because when we have all this confusion and lack of nuance and lack of context, then another extreme potentially is more personalization, more fancy individualized testing, more supplements based on your genetics and all of these things. If any of you have ever done these genetic tests and then you get this huge list of all the supplements that are ideal for you, that's what we're going to break down next week. Because personalization, absolutely, individualization can help, but when is it working against you? So thank you so much for joining me today. I actually really enjoyed this topic, and I hope that you do and did as well. And always want you to walk away empowered, inspired, and taking at least one step towards thriving. All right. You deserve to thrive. You absolutely can thrive. I've seen people completely transform their health over and over. So take that one step towards thriving, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Up Level, Real Health, Real Talk. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your health journey, one that nourishes not just your body, but your mind and spirit as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's episode, please leave a review. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thriving. And remember, true wellness is a journey, and you are on the right path.